Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be testing some new pistol optics in the way of the Primary Arms Classic Series. We're going to have the Mini on my M&P 2.0 right here, and the Micro on my SIG 365 XL. And for the price of 150 bucks, we're going to see if we are going to be impressed or depressed in both of these pistol optics. Let's dive right into the specs on these, starting with the Mini. This is going to be the larger of the two, and it's going to come in the RMR style footprint. So at this point, the rest of the industry, just give up on your own proprietary footprint and go to the RMR, because that's pretty much what most of us want and what a lot of the really popular optics are coming in. Moving on, we are going to get very nice and clear, fully multi-coated glass with these. It's going to have 10 brightness settings, and they have used a really good LED in here. So you're not going to notice the issues of a bad refresh rate or blinking or something when you wiggle it around or move from target to target, like you will see in some other optics. And the 10 brightness settings are pretty much going to cover just about any environment you're going to be in. The housing is made of 6061 aluminum, which is good stuff. You're going to have 41,000 hours maximum of battery life at the medium setting or below. So that is pretty good. And we'll talk more about how to kind of maximize that here in a second. It will be powered by a single 2032 bottom mounted battery, which is pretty readily available at most your supermarkets or convenience stores, places like that. The dot in there is going to be 3 MOA. So if you don't know what that means, basically at 100 yards, the dot in there, or the circle, is going to be 3 inches big around. So not that big at all. You may be into bigger ones or you may be into smaller ones, whichever you prefer, but ask your wife which one she likes. The adjustments in there for windage and elevation will be 1 MOA. However, it's not like a tactile or audible click. It's pretty much just a smooth operation when you go to adjust that, so that is something to pay attention to. This version will have both activation buttons on the left-hand side, so your up and your down adjustment, which are also going to be your powered on and your powered off adjustments. When it comes to turning this on and making adjustments, according to the manual, you can hold either the up or the down for 3 seconds, and that will activate the reticle in there, or the LED will turn on. It then says to hold the down and the up arrow at the same time for about 3 seconds, which will turn it off. However, I played with the buttons and I found on mine that I could use the up only adjustment to turn it on, and then I could turn it off both using the down arrow long hold and pushing both buttons long hold. So a little bit of a difference there. Don't know if it's a manual thing or if I just got lucky and had a few more options in mind. However, I did notice on the Micro, it turned off and on the exact same way as the Mini. Well, we are about that point where you probably want to see a little bit more shooting footage. Don't worry, I needed that too. So talking about the Micro, this one's going to be in the RMSC pattern, which is extremely common. And I think most of your micro pistols are actually milled for that, whether it's the Glock MOS or the SIG 365 and many other, or they have a plate that comes ready for the RMSC pattern. So that's nice that they went with something that was already out there and didn't try to make a proprietary design. Again, the glass on here is going to be very clear with very little distortion, and it's really true to size. So sometimes you'll get a little bit of magnification in optics. This is very, very minimal to the point where you almost don't notice it. And again, it has that 3 MOA dot. It is a square style design, much like the RMR. You'll get 10 different adjustments for brightness. And again, the LEDs seem to be very good with no refresh rate, blinking issues, anything like that. You get it in a 6061 aluminum housing again. That same 41,000 hours of optimal battery life on a medium or lower setting. And again, powered by a 2032 battery, which is readily available. The adjustments are the same coming in at 1 MOA, and the adjustments, windage, and elevation are gonna feel the same way as the Mini, so no audible or tactile clicks. The activation buttons are a little bit different since you have the positive on the left side and the negative on the right side. And again, the manual of turning this off and on was the same as the Mini, even though the manual said it was a little bit different. And for those of you that want all the specs, here's a little bit of that sweet music to read to. And the final thing is both of these are manual optics. So there's no auto brightness, no auto off and on feature on there, shake awake, whatever you call it these days. But it does appear that on the left side of these, there is a little window that's been covered up or glued over that might be for a sensor, or if it's for something else and you know what it is, let me know in the comments. But it's possibly something they could be expanding to in the future, and maybe not the extreme budget $150, but maybe the $175 mark to get you some auto settings in there. Using these out on the range, the first thing I noticed is that glass is extremely clear with very little distortion in the edges, and it doesn't have a big magnification difference when you look through it like some others do. The dot in there is pretty crisp and clear, even though I do have an astigmatism, so normally I will see a little bit of that kind of starburst. So I'm not the best judge of how clear that dot is going to be or the reticle is going to be when it comes to a projected LED optic. However, it appeared good. And the best thing I noticed out on the range was they used a good quality high-powered LED, like I said before, so you're not getting any blinking or refresh rate or any of that weird stuff you get with some of the more cheaper optics or even some of the more expensive ones that just cost cut when it comes to the LED. Now, I only have a few hundred rounds for these between the two of them, and they're a new batch of optics that Primary Arms sent out. So I will be keeping an eye on them since it's a new design and an initial offering. However, generally when you're going to see an issue, it's going to be in that first batch of a few hundred or a few thousand optics. And I haven't noticed this yet. I asked around to some other people that got to test them, and they haven't seen any big issues, but I will be running these on the range quite a bit more to see how they're going to hold up over time, especially with all of the recoil from the slide. When it comes to the housing design, the Mini has the curved glass design in there, and the Micro has that squared RMR design. Now, the one thing I noticed is it didn't seem there was a big difference in the size of the glass as I looked through it out there running these on the range. And that could be because the M&P there has rear iron sights on it where the SIG XL does not, because on the SIGs you lose the rear sight. So maybe it was because I had less of an obstruction through there without a rear sight on the smaller one as compared to the Mini. But overall, it seemed the window size just didn't make a huge difference to me. But the size of the overall optic is definitely much smaller on the Micro. The overall feedback I have on these is they used solid glass, a really good LED, and coming in at a price point of $150. That's pretty aggressive for having the Primary Arms name behind it and a lifetime warranty. A couple things to pay attention to is it's a bottom mounted battery. So you're gonna have to take that thing off anytime the battery goes, whether it's once a year, once every 2 years. And you're gonna have to confirm your zero once you put that new battery in. So depending on how you feel about that, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I have some where you don't have to take it off, and I have some where you do. And quite honestly, I find myself confirming zero either way. I did notice that I kind of like the buttons on the Micro, the smaller one, because you have one on the left and one on the right. And that just seems to be easier for me to remember and work since I have kind of big fat sausage fingers sometimes when both buttons are on one side. I'll find myself when I go to adjust it actually hitting both and turning an optic off. I don't know if that's been a problem for you, let me know in the comments, but that's just something that I noticed. And the only other thing I noticed is I kind of find myself gravitating towards 6 MOA dots for pistol work these days. And that could be because I've kind of gotten that eye issue now, but it seems to be that I used to like the smaller 3 MOA dots all the time, whereas now for pistols, I kind of like that 6 MOA. And I don't know where you guys land, so let me know in the comments. Is it smaller or is it bigger? Well, that is what I have for you today on the Primary Arms Classic Red Dot. So if you're interested in anything you saw here today, I will leave a link in the description to my blog post. There's nothing for sale on my website, but there will be links and stuff there for you to take advantage of. So if you're interested, you can check that out. Let me know down in the comments if you think for $150 the new Classic series is something worth looking for. Make sure you get subbed up, turn the notifications on so you get the alerts when a new video drops. Most importantly, get out on the range, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.